If they're eating the right foods and they're in a very clean environment, then certainly that aquaculture is something to take a look at. But it is very important to ask the right questions. What are they being fed? Where are they being raised? How is the water cleaned? Be an educated shopper. Hi, I'm Maria, otherwise known as the Fit Foodie. I'm a chef, holistic nutritionist, author, inventor, and mom. And I want to welcome you to my podcast. It's called Recipes for Your Best Life. And with every episode, I'm peeling back the onion on fitness, nutrition, health, wellness, and family. The truth is, you're the chef of your life. And for every important pillar, there's a great recipe worth sharing. So every week, we'll explore them together. Think of it as food for thought that you can really sink your teeth into. So join me, and let's squeeze the joy out of this life, because you only get one. Can I get a fork, yeah? Well, when I was growing up, my mom always said, make sure you clean your plate, followed by something about starving people around the world that would benefit from the food that I wasted. Did your mom ever say that? Back then I always used to scratch my head and go, well, it's not like I'm going to be taking this plate of 4 bites left and giving it to somebody, right? But the truth is that food waste is a tremendous problem. It takes a huge toll on the environment. Methane gas emissions from food waste are over 21 times more harmful to the environment than even car emissions. And when you look at that waste in a landfill, you'd find about 40% of it is from fresh food. That is a huge waste of precious resources. 25% of our water production and 4% of oil go into that food that ends up in the trash. Not to mention the wasted money of you throwing it away. To add insult to injury, it costs the U.S. over $1 billion just to deal with a disposal. And then when you look at all of the peripheral waste, the plastics and serviceware and things that go into that takeout that maybe got wasted, we have islands twice the size of Texas floating in the middle of the ocean, and those microplastics are getting into our ocean supply. It's wreaking havoc everywhere. So we know that waste is a problem, and it takes a toll on our wallets and our environment. And then you hear stories about the rainforest getting deforested, the lungs of the earth, really, where they say that 20% of our oxygen sources come from. As we deforest and we clear the land for raising cattle and other practices, we're just destroying ourselves. We're shooting ourselves in the foot in a way that could be really irreversible. It's enough to make a girl like me just throw up her hands and go, well, now what? What do we do? The problem is so much bigger than we are. But we can make a difference, and each and every one of us has the ability to make a huge impact, both on the environment, our wallets, and our health. So I've put together 8 tips to help you become a fit foodie in a way that goes beyond your own personal health, but also will help the one planet that we get to live on. According to cleanair.org, the U.S. population tosses out paper bags and plastic cups, forks and spoons every year that could circle the equator 300 times. So while that 99-cent burrito may seem cheaper and more convenient in the short run, all that packaging, the disposable trays, the bags, the cups, and the cutlery has to go somewhere. And when you're bringing that produce home that you have all of the best intentions for, and it just turns into green slime that's disintegrated in the bottom of your crisper, that green crime scene we can all relate to, it's not serving anybody. It's just going to end up in the trash. So here are 8 steps and ways that you can make a huge difference in your own practices. Number 1, make a list and shop for it once. I mean, gas has gone through the roof. And even if you're driving a sustainable vehicle, a clean air emissions car, there is energy that's going into charging that car. So we can all do a lot to make a difference. And by the way, all of those Amazon orders that are showing up at your door, I'm not mad at the convenience, but I think we can be more efficient in how they get to us. So if you make a grocery list and you shop for your ingredients once and you plan your meals for the week, you can really maximize your own resources and time. By storing those meals in reusable containers and taking them to work and having plenty of those foods ready for your kids' lunch boxes and for dinner that night, you get organized and then you end up saving time, you save money, and you prevent waste because you're planning. You know, there are a lot of meal planning services these days. I'm not going to single anyone out, but they show up at your front door and they're either ready to eat or they require some cooking. And the big problem that I have with all of those is that there is so much waste in the packaging. You know, you have 2 tablespoons of an ingredient that is sealed in plastic. So if you buy those ingredients the right way without the use of plastic, and we have these wonderful reusable mesh bags that we sell on our website at eatcleaner.com, so you can take them to the store or the farmer's market and reuse them over and over again. There's a lot of ways to cut down on that unnecessary waste. And to be honest, save a lot of money because those services aren't always very sustainable for people like us that have families to cook for. So make a list and shop for it once. We even have a great meal plan that you have access to on our website. You can get it for free by texting CLEANSE to 22828. It will show up in your inbox. We have a lot of great resources on our website. And in my new book, Eat Like You Give a Fork, The Real Dish on Eating to Thrive, which gives you an example of a sustainable meal plan, a shopping list, ways to organize your refrigerator, and the list goes on. So it's a great resource all in one. Number 2 is shop seasonally. You know, the further food has to travel, the bigger the carbon footprint behind it. And when it comes to fresh fruit and veggies, you know, you could think that you're being sustainable by buying organic, but if those organic items have come from China, you know, you got to think about the energy that went into getting it to us. If they've trekked around the globe before you buy them, you know, it may make a lot more sense to go to your local farmer's market and buy something that is locally raised instead of certified organic. The NRDC is an organization that has a really great resource in their website where you can find the fresh produce that's in season. I would also say Melissa's Produce, one of our good friends, they do the same. They really focus on what's fresh. And we post a lot about that on our Instagram and Facebook pages. So if you're following us on social media at Eat Cleaner, you'll be in tune with what's in season as well. But when you buy in season, you really stay sustainable in what's produced. And depending on where you live and the time of the year, it's going to vary pretty significantly. If you insist on getting strawberries in the middle of Washington, D.C. during the winter, guess what? Those are probably coming from a few thousand miles away. So just think about that when you're making choices. Sometimes it's better to just eat with the seasons and then you're getting the freshest food that's going to taste better too. Number 3 is practicing some meat less. And it doesn't mean that you have to cut it out 100%. If you are a carnivore, an omnivore, you enjoy meat, listen, I'm not saying you have to completely cut it out of your everyday existence. But let me give you some perspective. It takes about 2,500 gallons of water to produce a single pound of beef compared to about 200 pounds of a plant-based protein. So cutting down on your meat consumption just once or twice a week can significantly reduce that waste and reduce your risk of heart disease by almost 20%, according to the Meatless Monday campaign, which we practice Meatless Monday in our household pretty much every single week, and we post some great ideas both on social media and on our blog at eatcleaner.com. I talk about going meatless in my book. I talk about doing that twice a week in tandem with a practice that I've been doing for almost my whole life, which is 2 days a week. I do an intermittent fast and I eat vegan on those days. You know, you give your digestion a break. You give yourself a chance to reset. You naturally cleanse because you're bulking up on more plants, and plants are going to naturally detoxify. You know, being able to detoxify on a regular basis is going to give your organs and your intestines a huge break. So it really will benefit you in so many different ways. But meat less gets you in tune with your body in a pretty profound way. And we can all do that. I mean, let's face it, there are a million different alternatives. And to my dad, who always says to me, well, how are you going to get your protein? Oh, there are so many different plant-based proteins. It's not even funny. So you can get whole protein in a whole soy product that's non-GMO, like tempeh, which is fermented and has the benefits of prebiotics and probiotics. You can get it from quinoa, which gives you a full array of amino acids. You can get it from nuts. You can get it from seeds. You can get it by combining legumes and grains like beans and rice. And you can get it from a whole host of different other plant-based sources that I talk about in the book. So don't feel like you're depriving yourself the opportunity to get plant-based protein. You can do it and then some. And you really don't need a ton of protein every single day. You just need the right array of amino acids. So that's number 3. Number 4 is go wild when it comes to seafood. And I will tell you over and over and over again, this is so critical. You know, when it comes to seafood, getting wild caught and line caught varieties, you know, yes, our water is becoming more polluted, but here's the deal. When you choose farm raised, those farm raised seafoods can be confined, medicated, fed dried food pellets that are made up of fish oil and fish meal that have been sprayed with pesticides. And farm-raised fish have an inordinate amount of lice. I mean, they are just, it's nasty. And you'll find that they have much higher omega-6 fatty acids, which are inflammatory, versus the good kind, which are omega-3s in the levels that they're supposed to be in. So it's always a good idea to opt for that. Now, somebody recently asked me, what about sustainably farm-raised? You know, if they're eating the right foods and they're in a very clean environment, then certainly that aquaculture is something to take a look at. But it is very important to ask the right questions. What are they being fed? Where are they being raised? How is the water cleaned? You know, be an educated shopper. And as our water supplies become more and more filled with pollutants, you know, this could be the wave of the future, to be honest. But by limiting your consumption of larger seafood like tuna and swordfish, which I'm not a big fan of, by the way, but foods, you know, seafood that are a little bit larger in size that can have higher mercury contents, just try limiting those to once a week if you can. So tuna is a big source of that. And I know for the sushi lovers out there, just think about that. When you've got raw fish that's uncooked, you also have the potential for contaminants in that can transmit foodborne illnesses. So just be really careful of your seafood consumption and vary that up. All right, but go wild whenever you can. So that's number 4. Number 5 is to break bread with friends and family. Now, obviously, there's a nice feel-good component of this. When you gather people around the table that you love and you're sharing food with someone, you release hormones that are on that par with, you know, eating chocolate or the pleasurable things in life. I won't dive too deep into that, but the pleasurable things in life that you indulge in with your partner. But the truth is, it brings you closer together and it helps to avoid waste, because instead of leftovers that can end up in the trash, you're finishing the food.